When's the last time DC Comics delivered anything at an event that you thought was meaningful, awesome, exciting, that got everyone talking about DC Comics? I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to be great. Probably Blackest Night. How long ago was that? You know, and I will admit, I thought Beast World was fine. Probably should have been just a storyline within Titans. It would have been good for the Titans book since it sucks so bad, but that story is actually fun. Are there any consequences to it? Absolutely not. There are no consequences to any of these events. They're inconsequential, and they basically worn out their welcome because the publishers haven't focused on quality over quantity, and now they have to go back to event after event after event, hoping to spike a number, and it's basically not happening anymore. We actually had an award-winning comic book shop speak out about the pre-orders for Absolute Power, and also giving a little bit of information regarding Blood Hunt and the X-Men reboot and stuff like that. And things are dead right now because customers do not believe in the direction of DC Comics. Customers do not believe in the direction of Marvel Comics. We're going to focus in on DC Comics here, which is more near and dear to my heart. And me personally, when it comes to Absolute Power, I've covered what the event's going to be, and I've certainly covered comic books that are leading into it, but I'm not covering Absolute Power. Fuck Mark Waid. I don't need Mark Waid. Mark Waid actually needs me. That's the part that they've really messed up. And the good thing for Big Bang Comics, the shop that actually spoke out, and DC Comics and really Marvel Comics, is that comic book fans are really, really in tune to the industry itself and love to give feedback. We've actually been giving DC Comics feedback for years now. Now they ignore all of it to their own detriment. They could be in a much better place if they actually listen to their customers who are providing them feedback, not only with their buying habits, but certainly when stuff like this comes out and they actually say something to you. Now, you get a lot of feedback. I understand that. But when there's an overwhelming rhythm to the feedback, i.e. you're hearing the same thing over and over again, you should probably fix those problems because you've now watered down events, you've now watered down reboots, and you've turned to a big bad villain, Amanda Waller, the big bad in here, that does not move the needle. For some reason, because people like the performance in Suicide Squad, we've decided Amanda Waller is going to be Thanos for the DC fucking Comics universe, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Now let's get into some of these details, and then we'll get into the feedback, which was basically 3 things over and over again directed directly at DC Comics saying, you need to fix this. First up, Absolute Power #1 is on FOC today. I've read it, and it's a banger of a book by Waid and Mora, top DC creatives, but customers aren't pre-ordering this at the moment, have less pre-orders for this than I have for Wonder Woman, our lowest selling Trinity title. Sure, a lot of people will only make up their mind to the date, some only on the day of release or later, but as a shop, low pre-orders take away from the confidence we need to bet on something. Because this isn't returnable, what we order, we're stuck with. I wonder why nobody's actually interested in Absolute Power. Maybe it's because we've had lame-ass event after lame-ass event after lame-ass event from DC Comics that in the end has been meaningless. The last time DC Comics did anything that meant anything, it was DC Rebirth. And then I will say, at least at the beginning, it certainly felt like Doomsday Clock was going to be very impactful to the future of DC Comics. Of course, it's not in continuity anymore because they just scrapped Rebirth and decided to go on this stupid dark odyssey into how badly can we actually botch the DC Comics universe before the bottom completely falls out of it. If you wanted to destroy DC Comics, Jim Lee and Marie Javins and company are really on their way. They've made some serious headway in that direction because nobody cares about what DC Comics are doing, including an event that has superstar Mark Waid on it. Not shockingly, people are not excited about anything that DC Comics are doing because there's no quality in the ongoing series. If they can't put quality in the ongoing series, how am I supposed to buy into the stuff that's leading into the event? They've got this thing all backwards. The tail is wagging the dog at this point. You need to get your universe fixed right, and then you lead into an event that actually is meaningful, that actually might have some ramifications for the entire DC Comics universe that might change things, and then people buy in. But at this point, DC Comics are fool's gold. They're snake oil. It doesn't matter how hard they sell it. You know, in the end, none of this stuff is going to be important. They follow that up with, wow, people do have a strong opinion about DC events, hey? For the record, pre-orders on Absolute Power are around the same as they were for Blood Hunt #1. It's not a DC problem, it's an industry problem, and we are nowhere near the level of event saturation we saw years ago, so that's not it. More worryingly, we are seeing around the same number of pre-orders for the new X-Men books, meaning we have a core number of customers that pre-order, and the rest are just going on vibes. What DC titles are actually consistently good right now? Superman from Josh Williamson, Green Lantern from Jeremy Adams. Other than that, nothing. The Poison Ivy book, which everyone says is book of the year, not very good. The Birds of Prey book that was on everyone's top 10 list for the book of the year in 2023, absolutely terrible. Batman sucks. No Justice League. The Wonder Woman book, which is doing better than it had been doing, at least sales-wise, now that they put Tom King on it, is a terrible read. And they say that pre-orders for Absolute Power are less than Wonder Woman. That's distressing. Wonder Woman is like the number 40 selling comic book in the industry based on the information that we do have, the limited amount of sales data that we do have. Wonder Woman, while doing better than it was, isn't doing great. It's not exactly a sales juggernaut. That's not where you want to be, where interest in your big event is the equivalent of the number 40 best-selling title in the industry. And apparently, according to Big Man Comics, Blood Hunt was about in the same area. Now, there was another retailer that backed up after that saying his pre-orders on Blood Hunt were 6 times greater than they are for Absolute Power. So maybe there's more interest in Blood Hunt. There's at least some anecdotal evidence out there, but it does seem like people have just checked out of DC Comics, and this is what they asked for. This is what they wanted. They wanted to drive their fans away. Congratulations. You achieved your ultimate goal. You made everyone decide you weren't worth their time and money. They don't even pay attention anymore. And it's not like DC Comics are going out of their way to even promote Absolute Power or anything that they're doing. When's the last time DC Comics did anything that people outside of me and you actually knew about? They do nothing to get the word out. If you really believe in Mark Waid and Dan Moore and Absolute Power, and you should, because Dan Moore is a great artist, and while I don't like Mark Waid personally, what he was doing on Batman Superman before he forced me to walk away was actually pretty good. This has the potential to be pretty damn good. DC Comics, if you believe in it, put your money where your fucking mouth is and actually go promote the book and get the word out. There might be Mark Waid fans out there that don't even know it exists. There's just no enthusiasm right now because of what DC Comics have done to themselves. Comic book fans love to give their opinions. And sure, you'll get the weird, flaky opinion every once in a while. Well, once you start hearing the same thing over and over and over again, and if you look at the replies to this specific email thread, you will hear 3 things over and over again, letting DC Comics know why there is no enthusiasm for this. But of course, they won't listen, and they will do the exact same thing over and over again. The first thing that people really don't like about Absolute Power, it's because of oversaturation of comic book events. Yearly events are so unnecessary, in my opinion. It just creates distractions from the main continuity. Publishers should equally promote ongoing series and event books so they have a stronger chance of accumulating readers. Next person, last great DC event was Blackest Night. It was all downhill from there. New 52 crippled the universe badly and still hasn't recovered from that. People don't feel like events matter as much as they used to. Event fatigue is not a new phenomenon when it comes to DC or Marvel Comics. People have been telling them, you gotta pull it back on the events because you're not doing anything with them. You're not really leading into them. You're just kind of doing stuff randomly for the most part, although they are leading into Absolute Power. And in the end, you make everything that happened in the event meaningless by the end. That's basically what they do every single time. They don't matter in the big scheme of things. And also, they've made them so big at this point that they're fucking unsightly. Remember back in the day when an X-Men event was 9 titles over 3 months? That was awesome. That's a story that you can invest in. Oh, I like this issue. I've only got 8 more to go. Nowadays, you get into an event, like a Blood Hunt, 60 issues. You get through the one book and you liked it, you've got 8 more that week. Absolute Power is going to be like 40 issues. If you want to read the whole thing with all the tie-in miniseries and tie-ins that are in regular continuity and all that stuff, and it becomes unwieldy. I don't want to have to read Wonder Woman to understand my event book. In fact, how about this one? I don't want to read Absolute Power when I'm reading my Green Lantern book. I'm actually enjoying what Jeremy Adams is doing with Green Lantern, and I don't want to hear about Waller at all. I'm so tired of that character, but they've made them so big and cumbersome, it's no longer fun to buy into a Marvel or DC Comics event. Like House of Brainiac, fine. 6 issues over Superman and Action Comics. You know, it's a little crossover thing with a couple of tie-in backup stories in the Green Lantern run, and then a couple of tie-in books in Power Girl that no one was reading anyway. Guess what that doesn't do? Bother anybody. If you're a Superman fan, you were likely reading both books anyway. If you're only reading Superman, this gave you a reason to go check out Action Comics, and it's a good thing all around. You know what's not good? Absolute Power, where you have to read everything all at the same time, and there's basically no way around it because it's so ungodly big and unwieldy at this point, and they keep doing this over and over again. There are far too many DC Comics events. Future State as an event was a shit show. DC Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths or whatever, another shit show. Lazarus Planet, shit show. Night Terrors, shit show. Even Titans Beast World, which I thought was fun. Nobody cared at this point because DC Comics had gone so long without delivering anything with any quality to it that people have just checked out. Stop trying to go into events, fix all your in-continuity books, get people excited, and then you can do your event that's actually going to pop a number. But right now, your event's in Wonder Woman territory, and that is not the place to be. Next up, with all due respect to the creators involved, the premise doesn't interest me. Amanda Waller doesn't interest me. The idea of big events don't interest me. There are a few big event ideas that would interest me. Amanda Waller, she has stopped being an interesting villain. She's now evil for the sake of being evil. Absolutely nothing that has Waller in it is of any interest to me. I read the Titans crossover because I like Titans, but her presence fucked with my enjoyment. I am right there with you, brother. You are preaching to the choir on that one. I was enjoying Titans Beast World. Guess when Amanda Waller shows up? About the third issue. Guess when it stopped being quite as enjoyable as the first two issues? The third issue, as soon as Amanda Waller shows up. I do the DC Comics solicitations. I do it exclusively over on the Patreon. And there's a rule. Once I see Amanda Waller's name in the solicitation, I stop reading and I move on to the next one because I'm so Amanda Wallered out. I just don't care. She's a government bureaucrat. That is not exactly a threat to fucking Superman or Batman or really anybody. And I'm okay with villains being evil for the sake of being evil. I love Arcade. Now, Arcade, I think, is more interesting and has a better design than Waller. But if you did Absolute Arcade, a 60-issue event, wide scoping that covered everything in the Marvel Comics universe, and at the core of it was Arcade being evil for the sake of being evil, I'd be like, how are you going to get 60 fucking issues out of this? It's just Arcade. He's a one issue or one story arc villain, unfortunately. And that's what Amanda Waller is. She's only a threat to the Suicide Squad because she put a bomb in their head. Otherwise, she's not physically a threat really to anybody. She's not like a superhuman level thinker or anything. She's not a strategic threat to Batman or anybody like that. She can be a thorn in the side of Superman. She can be a thorn in the side of Batman or whoever, but she's not a real threat. And now I'm supposed to believe she's going to have the failsafe robot that I've seen destroy the entire Justice League, single-handedly. She's going to have the Queen Brainiac, which is one of the most enormous robots I've seen in comics. Seems to be pretty powerful, and they're all going to be working for her. Everyone should be subordinate to frickin' Amanda Waller. Why? She's not that compelling. She's not that interesting. And they are continuously trying to shove Amanda Waller down our throats because she had a good performance in the Suicide Squad movie that no one remembers anymore because the DCU sucks so bad. Stop trying to make Amanda Waller a thing. She's not that compelling. She's an okay villain of the week or something like that. As a big threat to anybody, it doesn't work. And who wants to read an event where they remove the powers from all the heroes and they're going to put the powers of the heroes into robots to put them in bondage? That's really interesting. I haven't seen anything like that. We didn't see anything like that in Dark Knight's Metal, where we put the powers of all the superheroes into a disturbed Batman, and all of a sudden we got all these different things. It was kind of cool, and it was interesting and original. But at this point, you're on a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. We already saw Batman as a fucking town or something, right? The Bat Castle or something stupid. And now we're down to, yes, we're going to have Aqua Amazos. That'll be really interesting. Said nobody in the history of the world. Amanda Waller. If once Absolute Power is over, I see this character again in the next 3 years, I'm going to be fucking furious. I'm so over Amanda Waller. It's not even funny, but it sounds like I'm not the only one because people have been telling DC Comics enough with the Waller. The final thing that people have absolutely been telling DC Comics, Waid absolutely passing on this. While I like supporting my LCS, I'm not spending money on this event. Paraphrasing Waid, if creators don't agree with me, I'd rather it all burn down. I can use my money to support other creators and still support my LCLs. And Waller is boring. Great actress, boring character. And we've been warning the creators for a very long time. Stop making yourselves polarizing. Stop letting me know every personal detail about you that I might not like, that might make you less interesting and me wanting to support you less. Congratulations, Mark Waid. You got the big event at DC Comics after you've somewhat reassembled your career and all that stuff. But in the process, you kept being Mark Waid and kept reminding people why they shouldn't support you because you're a fucking incorrigible asshole. All you have to do is write comic books, shake hands, kiss babies. But no, you always got to jump in there and try to white knight for everything and be the big bad boy that's going to be the leader of everything. But every single side you take ultimately somehow ends up alienating the vast majority of the audience. Now, there are a lot of people that probably don't even know what Mark Waid has done. and why I personally don't like him, and why apparently a lot of other people don't like him. Unfortunately, enough people are aware of it that your mere presence on the event makes it a no-go for some people, including myself. Stop making people hate you. You're literally trying to sell your work for hire stuff for an amount of money, in some cases an obscene amount of money. Stop giving people reasons not to support you. Just talk about how much you like comic books. If you're going to get into something, don't get too specific, and certainly don't put your balls out there so they can be on the chopping block when everyone goes, you know what? Now that I'm getting to know the guy through this interview and everything that he said, he is a fucking asshole. Stop giving people reasons to not support you, and Mark Waid has done that, but a lot of comic book creators have done that over the years. Stop attacking your audience. Stop giving people a reason to walk away from your book specifically, and this is basically the perfect storm of all this stuff kind of coming together. You know, in Absolute Power, it looks like will not be a big winner for DC Comics, but I predicted this all along, even though you had Mark Waid and Dan Mora. And even though Dan Mora is one of the best artists in all of DC Comics, and Mark Waid, if you don't hate him personally like I do, is probably the best writer at DC Comics right now, outside of probably Jeremy Adams and maybe Josh Williamson. He's so uneven, it's not even funny. Go read his Green Arrow book. That thing just absolutely blows. This lead up in Absolute Power has been awful in that book. DC Comics, you made your bed. Now you get a lay in it. You gave people a reason to not pay attention, to not get excited, to not take your event seriously. And guess what? They're not taking your event seriously. DC went out there and hired Mark Waid. Mark Waid had been rehabbing his image, decided to go out there and remind people why they didn't like him. Guess what? People are going to walk away. DC decided Amanda Waller needed to be the big bad because she was in a movie 9-10 years ago at this point that people liked. And now it's all falling apart because Amanda Waller isn't a good villain. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. At DC Comics, you got what you deserve. You got what you asked for, and have fun with that shit. If you'd like more conversations about comic books with an emphasis on reviews and awesome stuff like that, you do need to go check out Think Critical Patreon. There's a link in the video description. All kinds of awesome podcasts featuring your favorite guests like Aaron Sparrow, Doc, Jim from Weird Science, 32 Flavors, and Nick Weiser, and obviously myself as well. Can't wait to see you there.